I thought it was on Slack, but
Oh, tips and tricks on Slack. You're talking to I haven't even created a Slack account yet. You're talking to the wrong person there.
That's why
okay,
that's
no
why
problem.
I that's why I put it on Slack.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parker, this surprises me though. You shouldn't be asking. I feel like you should have, like, you should know Slack.
Yeah, I know
Parker,
it. I know
Parker,
it
what do
pretty
you
well
want to know?
already. It's just
What do you want to know, Parker? Because I've been using it with the evacuation group that I'm part of. We've been using it for a couple of years now.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I it makes sense to me. It's pretty simple, but I was just seeing if there's anything that I could get for other people when they start asking questions because I already know they're coming.
I mean, it's pretty basic because
Yeah,
it only has the one group for us, right? It's
yes,
when they start going into like different groups.
So would
Like
it
yeah,
when
be
he
like
does when he does like the Zillow Flex group, and then
yeah, we're
Amy's gonna do
still
her mentee group. So stuff like that. People just need to make sure that when they click on the group, they click on the right group. Because somebody may be on the mentee, but they want to ask a question in the Zillow, and sometimes that happens. So
all right? We're gonna
it's pretty cool.
while we're on, we're gonna
But I can
sign
like
up for
private
it.
message you on there too.
Now,
the what?
Abby mentioned that potentially, like, if you private message Parker on Slack because you're inside of the Realty One group, I don't know, channel or something, that the office leadership can see all the messages. Is that true or false? Anastasia, do you know?
That I don't know. So if I wanted to talk smack about somebody on a private thing, can the upper management see it? That's a good question.
Yeah.
You might be able to make a separate a separate channel for that, but I think you wouldn't be able to lock it to other people. Only the owner would be able to do that. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because you can lock it to
But
invite
like,
only certain people.
yeah.
Ed's joining us. Ed, tell us all about Slack. Because as you can see, I have yet to join, but I'm working on
No,
it right
they sent it to the email that I sent them from your stuff.
So
Huh?
Parker and I are working together on it right now. But Slack is meant to be a tool for us. We have several different ways of communicating right now: Facebook, email, Group Me, and then inside of that, there's several channels that we're utilizing. So Slack is meant to be something that will help us just in one space, or we can use this to streamline the communication. We can pass information. We can historically log, like for instance, vendors and or different files that we're using, buyer packets. There's a little bit more of an easier way to streamline communication. At least that's the intention.
now. All right. So if inside of the Rog Fox channel, can I create like a mentee group where I add all the mentees?
The answer is yes. We'll absolutely do that. We probably need to make you some type of admin, Amy, to do that. But I think the answer is yes, and that's the direction we'd like to go.
Okay.
Is make this more of a one-stop shop.
Yeah. All right. And then so like I can see what's on the Zillow Flex. So can you limit who sees different things, or is it all just like there's an open houses one, a question, a Zillow Flex one?
Right. So if it has a lock on it, like the Rog Fox agents, it's
Uh-huh.
just who was invited.
Okay.
Right. And then if you're on the Rog Fox channel, then you'll have access to the different communications.
Okay. And there's an app for this for your computer and your phone.
It is, yes. I think the desktop version is a little bit more robust, but the app on your phone does great as well. So, and we're working through it ourselves. There's a lot of there's a lot of capability, and so we're going through the training ourselves, and so that's why we've given ourselves a month to really work in and have a little bit more trainings involved with it. So Parker and I were on it, and really kind of working through that piece.
All right,
And
and then
go ahead.
sorry, and then mine says free trial ending soon. Is that your free trial or is that my free trial? Do I have to pay for something?
No, it's my free trial. So there's a couple different ways to do it. But if you have the organization, if you buy it, it has to be per employee, essentially,
Yeah.
right? So the question I was kind of working with is, do we as an organization pay for the membership for 100 plus agents, and or is it just for the staff? And then there's a free version of it as well.
You can't pay for only a certain amount of accounts in the server. Like it says you have to either buy it for everyone or no one. Like everyone has to be on the same level to have that server work.
Yeah, so Rod Complete, this is where we're getting it from, is Rod Complete up in Sacramento. Utilizes this right now, and they utilize it pretty extensively. So I have a meeting with them on Friday, and that's a conversation I'll be having with them, is because I think they only have their staff on it, which it's not that much, but it's still, I think like close to $8 a month. So 5 or 6 people on it's a lot different than 115, 16, 120. We'll figure that out.
All right.
The free version's good.
Is there anything else we should know about it?
More to come. So just be patient with this. This is meant to not complicate things, but more so be a tool to streamline communication. And yes, there is a learning curve associated with it. And we'll continue to address it. My hope is that we are, just like even working in, say, the Foxhole, that if you didn't know how to utilize it, you kind of figure it out by bumping through it. And there's training in it, and that's what Parker and I are doing right now. But I think this will be good for us.
Cool.
So.
I think anything that streamlines everything is good for us, but sometimes
And anything
change is
that's
hard.
free is even better.
Yeah, that's not something we weren't looking to pass that on to everyone, but we're certainly not looking to pay $700 or $800 for the entire office as well. So
No. Cool. All right. Thank you, Ed. All right.
Yeah.
We still have open Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to ask them. For those that are on, we are finalizing the new schedule. It will start, we are taking next week off. It's Labor Day week. So I'm taking a 3-day hiatus, and there will be no classes next week. So if you need something, you can reach out to me directly and ask your questions. And but then we'll jump back in. We're gonna move all the classes. So normally this Tuesday is at 3 o'clock, but there hasn't been a big turnout. I was trying to accommodate those that maybe weren't available in the morning. But we're gonna move all 3 sessions. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will all be at 9 a.m. Oh, you know what? There's a reason we didn't do that. Never mind. Don't listen to me. It's not gonna be at 9. The reason we don't do it at 9 is because we have the association meeting on Tuesday mornings. So before we put the schedule out, Abby, I need to tweak the Tuesday time, but it is going to be earlier in the day than 3 o'clock. I just feel like this is not a good time. I don't know if people are stuck with kids or whatever. We kind of picked this because it came up high on the little poll that I sent out. However, it hasn't been a huge turnout, so we're going to bump it a little earlier in the day. Although again, it's not going to be at 9, so I'm going to have to figure that one out tonight. And then the new schedule will start on the second week of September. So not next week, but the week after. And we're going to dive back in. September is going to be a little bit more about buyers. We're going to keep the Thursdays on forms. So I have some more forms that we can cover that aren't as utilized, but that you'll come across. So we're going to talk about things like the trust advisory and the probate advisory and the AOAA form, the assignment of agreement form, and like if you're co-brokering with another broker, or you have 2 agents on a transaction, the AAAA form. I can't remember the acronym for the other one. So we're going to pull some of those forms in. I went through kind of the residential purchase agreement and pulled out the forms in there that it mentions that we haven't yet talked about. And we'll cover those. We're going to go, the next schedule will take us September, October, November, and into December. We're going to take Thanksgiving week off, and then we'll take a couple weeks off at the end of December for the holidays and Christmas from the regular training schedule. Although don't get upset, because I probably will do something like I did last year, where I did like the 12 days of lead gen towards the end of the year. I'll probably do something else fun like that. Depending on what my schedule looks like. I'm waiting to hear on a couple things. So once I figure out what my holiday schedule looks like, I'll put something fun together for the holidays.
So Amy, Drew
yes.
actually had a question yesterday. I know he's not on the call.
What was
He had a question yesterday about purchasing a probate sale.
Yeah.
So is there an addendum? He said, I've done one without court confirmation, but I wanted to see if anyone has gone to court and dealt with bidding.
So yeah, there is an addendum for a probate sale. So there's the probate advisory, which just talks about whether it needs court confirmation or not. So there's this whole advisory. It's a conversation that you want to have with the listing agent of how that transaction is going to roll. Most probates, they usually have court confirmation ahead of time. It's rare that you come across one that is going to go to the court, and it's not so much bidding. It's usually you submit an offer and the court reviews the offers and picks the one they want to go with. Ed, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I mean, you're right in what you're saying. There is a process that you can go to the court, and at that confirmation hearing, if you object essentially and come in with, I think, cash, can purchase that property. And that's generally after contingencies have been removed. It's very unfair, we just don't do that. And I don't see how a real estate agent would be getting compensated on that side, other than some type of, hey, would you go do this for me? So it's one of those, I think it's an outlier. If, like going to the courthouse steps to pick up a foreclosure, you can do it. Absolutely. Probably a little bit more risk involved. You don't have the inspection process, no appraisal process, you don't have all the disclosures coming with it. So there's a lot more in it. Those are generally things that, yes, you can do it, but they do take more skills and education.
The other thing, and I don't know if you know this or not, Ed, but like with purchasing a property at the courthouse steps, I don't believe those go through title and escrow to guarantee to get insured, which means for the resale purpose of them, and I'd assume this, if you're making a bid at the probate court, it's the same way. If you're planning to flip that property for resale, you're going to have issues with the insurance on the secondary sale once it's been flipped, because the first transaction wasn't insured.
Yeah, no owner's title insurance policy, and on the courthouse steps, you can actually be purchasing the liens attached to that property.
Yeah.
So, and there's no 100% way of making sure that there's no lien on there. So back in the last recession, there were some great horror stories of buying, some liens that were attached to that property, whether they be mechanics, contractor liens, and or seconds on the property, or thirds. So
yeah,
it's just buyer beware. You have to do your due diligence on that. yes, there are some deals. Yes, you can get burned. Karen and I probably spent 2009, we spent about 3 weeks on the courthouse steps, and we were going that direction. And great education. But what we found is, if you're, we deal with the MLS all the time. If we just research the MLS, you're going to find some gold nuggets in there that, some good deals. And yes, they also carry the owner's title insurance policy. We can go through the escrow process and have a little bit more protection.
Yeah. I know it was crazy back in 2008, 2009, because the auctions were the big thing. You had so many foreclosures that the properties were being taken to auction rather than putting on the MLS. And you go to those auctions. I went to a couple with a couple of clients, and you have to go with no contingencies, and it's a higher deposit and all these things. You're waiving all these things. And then like watching these, like we knew the market, we knew the properties. And because it was an auction, you had people trying to get deals from out of area and stuff that had never seen the properties, and they were completely overbidding on these properties that just wouldn't make sense in that market. But crazy times.
Do you think it'll get like that again?
No, I don't think it'll get like that.
Not to that.
Yeah, the difference between this market versus that market is, even though like interest rates are going up and there's some instability in the market, you don't have crazy loan loans where you could just be like, I'm a housekeeper and I make $300,000 a year, and they'd be like, cool, have a house. So you shouldn't have ever been in that house to begin with. And then not only that, but they were giving you interest only loans, or they were giving you the negative amortization loans where you were only paying a partial interest payment and the remainder of the interest was getting added to the balance of the loan. So your loan balance was actually going up instead of down or staying the same. And then all of those loans were hitting a part where one of two things were happening. The interest only loans were hitting a point where it was like fixed for 5 years or 3 years. And now the rates are starting to adjust. And not only are they adjusting, but now it's moving from interest only to principal and interest. So your payment was going from, $2,000 a month to $3,500 a month. Or you had the negative AM loans that were hitting what they called the recast, which is like the maximum amount had been added to the balance of your loan. And now you had to go from a partial interest payment to a fully amortized payment. So the same thing, you're going from like $1,500, $3,000 or $4,000 a month oftentimes. And so you had people that shouldn't have been in houses that they were in, and then you had their payments doubling or tripling in size. And so they could never afford that to begin with. And so that's what caused a lot of the downfall that happened. That, and the fact that you could, as a lender, you could call up an appraisal or an appraiser and say, hey, I've got a house that wants to refinance and they need this amount to pay off this amount of debt. Can you get that value for me? And they would be like, yeah, we can do that. Or no, we can't. If they're like, well, I can't get that, then we would go to another appraiser. Hey, can you figure out how to get this value for this house? And then, so you were boosting value, appraised values higher than they should have been anyways. So there was a whole bunch of shady stuff going on at the time. That's why you can no longer order your own appraisals through the appraiser that you want to use. And, all these things have been put in place, but it was a crazy market that caused that huge crash. It was more than just like the economy was doing bad. It was like a trifecta.
Wild West.
Have you guys seen the movie The Shortage? No,
Big Short?
Yeah, I just watched it last night for the first time. The Big Short.
I've not seen it.
I've seen it
Okay, you have to watch it.
years ago. Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's about what we were just talking to you about, what you were just talking about, how it all happened and all the shady stuff that was going on. And
Yeah.
people that knew about it and predicted it and then ended up making millions of dollars.
Any other questions? What other questions do we have? Everybody's doing great. And then, to go back to the schedule, if nobody's got questions. Ed, did you have a question?
Well, I just And you may have already asked this, but sometimes just asking, what do you guys need? What do you need that you're not receiving right now? And that may be hard to ask or answer. But and
Non-flaky Zillow clients.
2 and 20, that's what I'm gonna tell you. We're not looking for the 18, we're looking for the 2.
You want to get non-flaky Zillow clients? That means you got to make sure you're doing your own lead gen in addition to your flaky Zillow leads.
I am. I'm waiting for my neighbors to clean out their house so I can list it.
Well, don't wait for them. Keep looking for other ones while you're waiting for that.
Well, my other girlfriend's gonna be listing hers too.
Nice.
So, but it's pretty horrible when I went to go hand my list out for the garage sale. And don't get me wrong, I love Michael Holsey. I've known him for many, many, many years. He's listing a house just down the street from me, so I'm just like, oh. So, but I told the guy, I said, you're in really good hands with Mike Holsey. I said, he'll get your house sold really quick. I go, he's a good guy. And he's like, oh, thanks. But my garage sale was a huge success.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Way better than the shred event.
Good.
So everybody's asking, are you going to do it next year? So I'm hoping to make it a yearly thing.
You're hoping to, or you're going to make it a yearly thing?
I am going to make it a yearly thing. And thank you for the use of the signs.
Good.
Amy,
Yeah.
can you tell me about 2,374 text messages that are unopened? That's my OCD right there. I would be like,
Okay, that is not an accurate number. I'm sure it's actually much bigger than that, number one. Because that's only since I've had the text messages on this computer and I've turned it off and on a couple different times. But technically they're just unresponded. Because sometimes it'll pop up and you look at your phone and it pops up the notification and you can see the text message. And not all text messages need a response. In fact, probably only, 20% of text messages actually need a response. Some people may appreciate a response more than that, but they don't need one. So if it popped up on my phone and I read it and it didn't need a response, or I had my watch on and I read it on my watch, I oftentimes don't mark as read on my phone, on my watch, because that's like an extra button you have to push and I'm lazy. So I've seen all of those text messages. They just have not been responded to. And every once in a while I go in there with the intention of cleaning it up. And my text messages just come in faster than I can even clean it up. It's just a disaster. And then I'm in these group text messages, and then people start like texting, and then it blows up from, what was it, 2374? It'll blow to like 2474 in like 10 minutes. And then I just give up at that point.
that would, my OCD. That would
Can't handle that.
I couldn't handle that.
The best way to deal with that is, I'm sure there's a way to like turn off the little number at the top and then problem solved.
That's probably true. I thought it was funny. So
the number on my phone only shows as like 1500. So it shows much higher on my computer than it does the phone. So it's not syncing appropriately, apparently. What would really stress you out is on my email on my phone, it says there's 4,534 unresponded to emails or unopened emails. Because when I switched companies, I imported all of my emails into a different email, a Gmail account, and it marked all of those as unread, or a lot of them. And so it made a mess that I haven't gone in and cleaned up yet.
I can appreciate that one. That's fine.
All right. Any questions about real estate? Real estate related, not Amy's text messages. What about to Ed's question? What do you need? What do you need help with? What would you like to see?
I'll just,
October-
I would
go ahead.
say for this part, and I've been saying it, but I'll continue to beat the drum, that this is where the top producers of tomorrow are being made. This is a tough market, and a lot of people will quit. And if you do the little things over and over again, when the market circles back, and it will, you'll start to see that you have more momentum than maybe some of your peers that took the time off. And so, yeah, it's grinding, but I think that the effort will be worth it in the long run.
Well, I mean, you look at, there's truth to that, right? Because you look at like some of our agents and they still have transactions going. They still got things plugging along. Anastasia's had a good year. Adriana, newer agent, she just bowed out, but she's been having a pretty good couple months. She's got people contacting her. Like, people still want to sell their houses. They still want to buy homes. It's just, you got to be a little bit more creative in finding those. You got to work. You got to work for your money.
I hear a song coming on. She works hard for her money.
You do. The other thing is too, Adriana was mentioning, I don't think she'd mind me sharing this, but she has a listing in Woodland and she's not had a lot of activity on that. Part of it is, I think that even though MetroList didn't go down per se, it came on the market in the middle of the berries being down. And Woodland's one of those communities that you've got agents from both sides that are trying to work, and they have most of their listing alerts set up in berries, even though it's Woodland. It's kind of like Winners, right? Like, it really is serviced by MetroList, but a lot of berries agents service it. So you had things that weren't popping up and notifications that were happening, but it's slightly overpriced still. We did get a little adjustment, but she's not getting any activity. And so I mentioned to her, I said, well, and we've had this with other agents in our office and other listings about, well, we're not in 2 years ago market where you throw it on the market and you've got 20 offers in hand before it's been on 24 hours. So sometimes it's important not to rush to like a price adjustment or rush to a change too quickly, because, we're kind of balancing out with the change in interest rates, and this market's very fickle and it's very much tied to what the interest rates are doing. But I mentioned to her that we'll call the other agents that have listings around that one and see what their activity's been. Is everybody like at no showings? Or are they getting lots of showings and you're not getting any, to kind of get a pulse at what's going on in that specific like neighborhood or community? So that's always an idea too. Usually agents are more than happy to share. Like, we've had lots of activity, or no, we haven't had any. Like, oftentimes they'll have those conversations with you because they want the same information from you. They'd like to know how you've been doing. So usually if you call some of those agents, just be like, hey, I was just checking, like, how much activity have you had on your listing? That's a good way to get a pulse for, is it my listing that's overpriced or something funky going on with my listing? Or is it just the market of today? Because this current market's, I feel like it's shifting every 3 or 4 days, depending on what's going on. So don't hesitate to like reach out to other people and ask questions, other agents. Build relationships.
I've seen a lot of agents adjusting their homes down in price. Did they think that if they started up high that it would start a frenzy, or?
It's they probably didn't think if they started high it would start a frenzy. And without looking at the property, it's hard to say, like, did they price ahead of the market? Are they priced appropriately? And the sellers just are anxious to get it sold, right? So a lot of people haven't adjusted to, it's okay to sit for 26 days on the market without an offer and not necessarily do a price adjustment if you're still getting showings and you're still getting the same activity the other properties are, right? So we're used to this, put it on the market, get offers, get it closed, versus like on a balanced market or on a market where the interest rates keep going up, it's going to cause it to balance out. And was the adjustment an appropriate adjustment to keep it with the market, or are they just anxious to get it sold and they're trying to price it super competitive to get an offer in? Ed, thoughts?
Couple of thoughts. Gary Keller's book, The Shift, talks about pricing the property in the direction of the market.
Yep.
Right. So we could probably argue, is it an upward trending or downward trending market? But overall, I would say that with the interest rates, I would price at or a little below market right now.
Yep.
And on there, and then somewhere I learned this from a guy I really respect, Aaron Novello out of South Florida. But he talked about 7 to 15 showings per week. So as a general gauge, if I'm receiving 7 to 15 showings per week, I'm receiving the amount of interest necessary to receive offers.
Yep.
On there. So yes, and also like you're saying, Amy, being realistic with the time frame that it was very common 90 days on the market. That's why we list the property for 180, so that if it went out, that we'd have an opportunity to sell it again.
Yep.
So we just have gotten so used to that 7 days on the market and with multiple offers, and that's what it takes to sell homes. And that's generally just not the case. I do think I like to at the listing presentation prepare a price reduction, and you can future pace that so it's not as aggressive, or at least it's not as controversial as you may think, and then obtaining feedback from the people that do show the property, so that you can utilize that as evidence or even ammunition towards a potential reduction if needed regarding the direction.
Yeah.
And I think the third or fourth or 15th thing is the seller's motivation to move.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're not motivated, then it doesn't matter what, they're probably not going to be realistic on price.
Sounds good to me. I'm gonna see what the house down the street sells for, and then work off that.
Nice. Is that for your neighbor's house?
For my neighbor, yeah.
Neighbor. Cool.
For
Yeah,
for
right. And it's okay to kind of give them, well, if we're talking to someone that's maybe not going to go on the market for 3 months or so, and we're getting that listing agreement signed or having those conversations, and they're asking what the value is, it's okay to say, well, if we were going to put it on the market this weekend, here's what I would recommend. However, here's what the market is doing. So as it gets closer to on market date, we would want to revisit this, because the market's changing a lot right now, right? There's a lot of fluctuation. And so you just want to make sure that you don't ever set that in stone for something that's not going on the market in the next week, that you leave them, you set that expectation realistically, so that if in 2 weeks or a month and a half, when you get ready to actually go on the market and you revisit that price, if it's gone down just a little bit, you've accounted for that fluctuation. And you don't want to account for it today necessarily, because who knows what the market's going to do in 2 months. But you just want to make sure that you set the expectations of the seller, that it may vary depending on how long it takes to go on the market. Set yourself up for success.
Ew.
Any other questions? Thoughts? Anastasia, what do you think led to success on your garage sale? What was that?
I was advertising it. So what I did was, like a month before, I ordered some signs from Build-A-Sign,
Mhm.
and I said, community garage sale. If you'd like to have your name added to the list, text me your address. And then I had my phone number. And then like maybe a week or two before the actual event, I went around town, all over town, and I put up purple signs that said community garage sale event and the streets. But it actually morphed into more than just my neighborhood, which was really nice. I was having people adding their addresses up until like 9 o'clock the night before. So I had printed up 22 on the master sheet. And then the other like 8, 9 people I just wrote in. And then I was advertising on Facebook, on Nextdoor. And everybody that I've talked to made $100+
Nice.
So they were really happy with it. And they were like, "Oh, I hope you do this again." And I said, "Well, I'm hoping to make it a yearly thing, a yearly tradition like Goldridge does out in Cordelia."
Mhm.
And then what I did was I made I put everybody's addresses on the paper. I took them around to each home. However many copies I made, I divided that up by however many homes. And I personally hand delivered each one with, I did a little packet up that has a bunch of different business cards that my business card, lender, construction, tree, HVAC, Sensi, roof, clean, house cleaning, and then one of my pens, and then a couple of mints that I had done up a while back. And I put it in like this little packet. Turn my thing off. So I did this.
Okay. Nice.
So, and then I just, I put a bunch of business cards in there, and I handed these to each person. And, let them know that, and it was nice because a few of the people that came around after the fact, they were like, "Oh, are you the one that organized this?" They're like, "Oh, you did such a great job, thank you for doing everything." And so I was just like, "Yeah, no problem." I said, hopefully we can keep it up. So I
Nice.
was just really happy that it turned out way better than my shred event.
Good. And do you have a follow-up plan for those people that registered their houses?
Yes, I was going to send them all a thank you for participating in the garage sale event, like little thank you card. And then, I don't know, maybe a little trinket or something for Christmas. I don't know. So,
Cool.
but one of the neighbors asked, and there was a few neighbors that opened their doors and put stuff out that didn't register, which I'm totally fine with. And
Yeah.
one guy was like, "Well, how much do I owe you?" And I'm like, "You don't owe me nothing." I said, "I didn't do this for money." I said, "I did this for the community so we can all, get rid of our stuff." So, and then a few of us have our stuff being picked up by the disabled American veterans tomorrow morning that we didn't sell, that we don't want to keep.
Cool.
So
Now, is that something that you arranged and you let all the people who participated know about, or just a couple people? Just
yeah,
curious.
no, there's quite a few that are going to be donating. In fact, we have to put our stuff out tonight, so that way they can get it picked up. They'll pick it up as early as 7 a.m.
Nice.
And I will not be up that early. So,
No.
um,
Now,
So-
I would say, since you keep saying hope, and I know that you're going to do it again next year, our October calendar is really about business planning and setting yourself up for success in 2024. I would make sure to get that garage sale on the calendar before the end of this year of when you're going to do it next year. and maybe even start doing like a save the date, like 6 months out or 9 months out, so that people know it's coming up, so that they can plan to be around during that, like, you know, they can kind of plan accordingly. I think that the major promotion being like the register and stuff like the month before is good, but kind of the save the date so that people are aware it's coming up as soon as possible, because I think that that'll help just be like, oh, she's doing it again. Like, thank you cards went out. Oh, now to the neighborhood, like, you know, the save the date, we're going to do it again in 6 months, or, you know, 6 months, obviously, like do it again another year, but like 6 months ahead of time, like here's the date for the neighborhood garage sales, so that people can start planning before garage sale season happens, so that they can all plan to do it on that weekend. I think that would be key.
Yeah, well, one guy was asking, he was like, so are you gonna do this like in like the spring too? And I'm just like, slow your roll there, buddy. I think August, I think the weather was perfect. And it was just like, it was perfect. There was like barely a breeze. And it wasn't, you know, blazing hot. I had waters, you know, at my house, and otter pups and stuff, but I forgot to give those out. But anyway, that's okay. But you know, it's just you know, and it was nice that when I asked somebody, do you have the list? And they were like, oh yeah, I got a list already. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a few that were added on if you want to take a picture. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So,
Nice.
it was just really nice. And a few other people came around, and after they closed up, and they came over and thanked me. And so it was nice. So, and then I put a thank you on Nextdoor, you know, thanking everybody again for participating, and that, you know, we'll do it again next year. So,
You know what might be fun too, next year, something to think about, which I hadn't thought about until just now, is because you said you had the list of addresses and you had some people add last minute, is maybe even on like the signs or whatever, is like a QR code or something to scan, where you set it up where they would receive the updated list of properties, so that as people are visiting the garage sales or people from out of the neighborhood, they can scan, they have to put in like their name and phone number or whatever, and then they get the list of addresses, because then you capture more business, than more potential leads than just even people in your neighborhood. Now you're capturing people that are visiting that want that list of what addresses have the garage sales.
Kimberly sent me, because she asked me, she goes, what are all those papers for? And so I told her, and she's like, why don't you just do this? And she showed me how she's doing hers.
Yeah.
So I just have to learn to be more techie. I'm not, you know me, I'm not a techie type of person. So I have to learn all this QR code stuff. And
Yep.
but I was even having people text me, and they're like, hey, can I just get a list of the homes? And I'm like, absolutely.
Yep.
So your signs came in really handy. One grew legs and walked away. So I have to replace that for you.
I don't think we really care if one of the signs walked away.
So, but I mean, it worked out perfect. And, you know, people were like, oh, can I bring it back to your house? I'm like, sure. So
Cool.
it was just nice. I was really happy with it. And we had, you know, our rushes, you know, and even a lot of my friends, Masayo brought some stuff over, you know, that she wanted to sell. And another one of my girlfriends brought some stuff over that she wanted to sell. And she's like, I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? She goes, I don't care. Just whatever you sell it for, just donate it to the cat rescue. And I'm like, okay. So it was wonderful.
And do you have, I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. Do you have other events planned for your farm for the remainder of the year?
I do not, because I am still awaiting my surgery date. So I don't want to get something planned and then have to cancel it or not follow through with it. So yep. I'm just waiting for that phone call of when the surgery is. So
I feel your pain there. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for asking. Thanks for letting it be better than that stinking shred event.
I think that I wouldn't write the shred event off, just because number one, it was the first activity or event in your farm. And so I I mean, I think it might be worth trying again next year after you're building your, not just like I can drop a flyer off, but now I'm getting people's phone numbers, right? So you have more avenues of communication to get the word out there and what it is. So I think as you look at your calendar for this next year and what you want to do in your farm and things, I feel like the shred event's a good event. It just was poorly received, and it could just be because, like you said, it was the first event, who knows what, but I don't think I would write it off completely. Not necessarily that you have to do it again, but it may be worth trying again.
Okay. I'll keep that. And yeah, that day was hot too, so I have to figure out a different day.
Different thing.
Way different. So.
Cool.
That's April.
Huh?
Spring, April. That's in April.
That'll be cooler.
I was going through my text messages and I ran across one on Messenger, Ed, and it was from you. And it was hey, just wanted to reach out because Shayla gave me your name, and I was just looking at it and I was just like, wow. That was like last year.
Wow.
I totally forgot that she had given you my name when I talked to you the first time.
Yeah, and Amy did too.
I know. Well, I talked to you before I even signed up. I talked to you, EXP, and then a couple others before I went to Keller. And the only reason I went to Keller was because of Amy. So
I was there at Earmore. I had her every weekend. I had her cornered.
and she left and I left. Friends
I'll
stick
play the
together.
long game. We have Amy and Anastasia.
Raphael and Shannon and
Love it.
did Susan sign up?
No, Susan hasn't come back yet. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a positive meeting when we talked.
And yeah, and she sent me the same thing. She said it was positive as well.
People are slow. They're slow.
That's right. And Karen and I probably don't follow up as hard, on those types of conversations. We sometimes you just need to let it percolate. Certainly making the ask, but not necessarily being too pushy about it.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that.
Well, I'll talk to her because we're supposed to go beach riding next month.
Let me know when. Maybe I'll plan my trip around that.
September 10th.
Oh no, I won't be out that soon. That's not next month. That's like in a week and a half.
And then we're gonna do Brioni's the 26th.
Okay.
Or the 23rd.
Okay.
But if you want, we can change it.
So Amy, September 15th, we are doing a party at Cherry Glen Winery. This is we're about to post it on Foxhole and Slack. But it is with us and Brickhouse Mortgage and Legacy Builders, which is an ADU company. Out at the Cherry Glen Ranch. So the first exit off of leaving Alamo. And the little house, or not the little house, but the corner property right there by the exit. They've made it into an event center. So I think
You sure it didn't burn yesterday?
I'm sorry?
Are you sure it didn't burn yesterday? That's where the fire was yesterday.
Yeah, it was right there, but no, it did not burn.
Okay.
It was close, so I think it was within 100 yards.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Is that Parker's birthday? For some reason, I have Parker's birthday on my phone. I don't know why or how.
Not today.
No, on the September 15th.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's my.
Oh, so we're celebrating your birthday.
Okay.
well, I don't know why it's on my phone. It says Parker Goodson's birthday, and I was just like, okay, I don't even have my son's birthday on here, but I have Parker.
Huh. It's not from Facebook or anything?
I have no idea.
Huh. That's funny.
It's on my personal phone, not even my work phone. So
Huh.
I manipulated my phone, Parker, but good job, man.
Thank you.
It's young tech
right.
right there.
He did it at Summit. He stole your phone and plugged your
Yeah.
birthday in there.
So you said there's no rev up next week.
No rev up next week. No rev up
Okay.
next week. Taking a bye week. Fabulous. Well,
Thank
what?
you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. On today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday. On Wednesday, we are talking about there was
Doing any
something.
calculations?
Oh, we were talking about multiple offers, tricks and
Yeah.
tips of reviewing multiple offers with your sellers, and I've got a spreadsheet for that and stuff. So we were going to talk about that because Maciel had a question about it last week. And then Thursday we're doing some forms, and then that'll wrap up our summer series. And then watch out for that new schedule coming out. Like I said, I just got to tweak one thing that I remembered now. So we'll be tweaking that just a little bit. And then we'll kick off our fall series. It'll take us to the end of the year. And like I said, October is mainly about like business planning, like reviewing your numbers, knowing your numbers, talking about putting together your values and your why, and then putting together your plan and business plan and everything for 2024 so that you can start working that plan and have it implemented and rolling right along by January.
What forms are slated for Thursday?
I knew you were going to ask that. The forms that are slated for Thursday are it's just open forum of car forms on Thursday. So whatever you got questions on with regards to forms, how to fill something out, what something means, how to explain it to somebody. This was just kind of our open Q&A week. So
Oh, cool. Okay.
if you have something that's been bothering you on your car forms that you want me to cover, you can give me a heads up ahead of time so I make sure I have it on there ready to go. But other than that, it's just open forum Q&A.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely. All right, everyone, have a fabulous day. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. Enjoy your hot weather.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
Amy.
enjoy my inch of rain tonight and my 60 to 70 degree temps for the rest of the week.
Friday will be 70 for us.
Nice. All right, fabulous. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.